11-2 on aggregate, two massive old firm defeats, but which one was worse? Dortmund 7-1 or Lyon 4-1? Welcome back, guys, to Fog Football. Having to decide here, which one was worse? Let's be honest, none of them were great. They were both terrible results for Scotland in the Champions League and Europa League respectively. But we put up for a poll, 690 votes, and 55% are saying Dortmund beating Celtic by 7-1 was the worst result, and Rangers losing 4-1 to Lyon got 45%. So, I mean, pretty close. Celtic edging it. I don't see why people are having complaints here. For me, the Dortmund result is worse. Now, I've gave Celtic credit, but the problem is, especially on this channel, you criticise Celtic for one thing, and then all of a sudden you get made out as if you're a hater or some shit like that. No. Honestly, Celtic were really bad in that game. Not saying Rangers were great against Lyon, but Rangers actually did play decent in the first half. And, you know, Rangers could have scored more than one. Albeit they could have conceded more than four. But Rangers had more players that actually were decent in their match than Celtic did. The Celtic game was shambolic. From McGregor to Taylor to the back two, for the the Kasper Schmeichel mistakes, Engels, Bernardo, non-existent, Kyogo, Kuhn, just so many players that were just not there. You look at the Rangers game, they had opportunities. There was some bright sparks with Barame, Lawrence, Hefty. So, yeah, for me, the Rangers' performance against Lyon was better. If you look at both games, and you have to ask yourself, who played better in the defeat, Rangers or Celtic? It's 100% Rangers. They were the much better team in comparison to Celtic. Now, some people say that Dortmund are levels above Lyon, and while I agree that Dortmund are a better team than Lyon, I don't think anyone would disagree with that. I'm not convinced that there's massive levels between the two sides. I don't think that. Lyon just spent 160 million. Yeah, you know what? They're struggling at the moment. They're sitting in 11th. But that's a false standing. I think we all know by the end of the season, Lyon will be higher than that in the league. So look, neither result was good. I mean, let's get that straight. But I do think Rangers had more bright moments in their defeat than Celtic did in theirs. The Celtic defeat was horrible. It was horrible. No one was defending that up until Rangers lost, but now Rangers lost 4-1 and it's almost like, well, our result wasn't that bad. No, your result was still shit. So, is what it is. Anyway, let's get the comments. Let's see what they're saying, because why not? Why not? Let's do it. Kevin Sinclair says Celtic were playing the Champions League finalists. Lyon's result was what? Was it really though? Yeah, Dortmund Champions League finalists, but they finished 5th last year in the Bundesliga. Yeah, they did well to get to the Champions League final, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're the second best team in the world. When Rangers got to Europa League final, you know, were they the second best team in the Europa League overall? I mean, probably not. So I don't see why all of a sudden we need to pretend that Dortmund are world beaters just because they were in last year's final. You know, Sharpie staunch, 7-1 obviously, especially when your rivals beat them 6-3 in aggregate. I mean, that is an old result, so I don't think that really matters as much here. Macaulay Lawrence says, as a jambo, it was staying neutral. Barry says, beaten at home by a far worse team than Dortmund is well worse, especially after 15 minutes, Rangers fall at the game. At least Rangers were in the game at some point. Celtic never were. Albert McCready, Celtic, as Celtic standards are setters, Rangers are a poor side regardless. So, there you go. That guy's got a green hat on, must be a Celtic fan. So, even he's saying the truth. Mr. Bubba says, does it matter? Both embarrassing for Scottish football, Rangers fan. Agreed, both are shit. Absolutely. Dean Cunningham says 7-1 is the worst Champions League defeat ever, I think. Not the qualifiers, I mean group stages. Celtic and Rangers hold the record together. It's always been home game results for Celtic in the Champions League final, and that's what we need to play for. Away games mean shite, but not 7-1 a game, please. I agree, look. When Rangers lost 7-1 to Liverpool, they were getting ridiculed and they were getting laughed at, and rightfully so. No one was coming out and saying, no, they lost to the Premier League runner-ups, or they lost to like the Champions League winners last year, or whatever. Nobody was coming out and making excuses. So, yeah, 7-1 is just a bad result. There's 6 goals in it, do the maths. 7-1 is worse than 4-1. 7-1's an absolute scalping. 4-1's a bad result, but a 4-1 result is a lot more common than a 7-1 result. 7-1 results are really, they're rare. John Bell says, if Lyon is McDonald's league, then they fucked yous last time they played yous. Get the facts still out in front of yous when it comes to Europe. Facts, we are the people. The fan Pablo says, getting spanked off a team from arguably the top league is embarrassing at all. I mean, they're both embarrassing results, let's be honest. Dave Ayer says, Celtic conceded 7. That answers it. Kevin Malley says, they're both embarrassing, shows the state of Scottish football in general. Celtic losing away to Champions League finalists is not an excuse. They were played off the park. Rangers losing at home with their support is hard to swallow too. Both need consistent competition over a season. That is the only way the Scottish game will progress in the future. Brian Smith says, thing is, the Old Firm are great teams playing against the rest of the SPL pub teams by comparison, but by and large are out of their depth. Yes, they've had some great results in the past in Europe, but the bigger picture is that they do get found out and also reflects the state of Scottish football, I'm afraid. Jim Gell says, Celtic spend more in the transfer window than every SPFL team put together and still constantly break records. First to concede 5 goals in 45 minutes, first team to be put out of 3 European competitions in one season. Their manager is top for the worst scorers, not won a European knockout game since Elvis Presley died. Has it really been that long? I don't think so, but it has been a long time. Kelso says the SPL is a tin pot league. Both results are embarrassing. Maybe the SFA will have a plan to improve the league. I wouldn't bet on it. Maybe this will be the moment where change will happen. People, I don't get it, man. People are saying 18-team league, 16-team league. I still don't see how that drastically improves the league overall. Now, I mean, will the top teams in Scotland, will they be able to get closer to the Old Firm because they'll play them less and they'll be against like lesser opposition? I mean, potentially, but I still don't think you could make the Scottish Premiership an 18-team league. I don't see how that somehow gets Aberdeen or Hearts to win it. I just don't see it happening. Do they maybe get closer to the Old Firm in terms of points tallies? Possibly. But if you water down the level of the league, then it means that the Old Firm are going to slip up less because there's less quality teams in it. Now, you could argue the same about Hearts and Aberdeen, but let's be honest. For example, let's say you make it 18 teams and you've got the likes of, let's just say Dunfermline and Airdrieonians. That's 2 teams I'm going to mention, no disrespect to either side. So let's say Dunfermline and Airdrieonians are in the league. Yes, you're watering down the league. Those are 2 teams that you expect to be near the bottom. However, Rangers and Celtic will be expected to beat them more times than they would, let's say, a Dundee United or a Ross County. So you're making games easier for Celtic and Rangers. Now, you could argue you're making games easier for Hearts and Aberdeen as well. But let's be honest, the gap's not that big. Celtic and Rangers, the gap between them and Airdrie and Dunfermline is massive. But Hearts and Aberdeen can still drop points against these teams from the Championship. It's less likely that the Old Firm do. So, yeah, you can argue that you're making it easier for some of the top teams like Hearts, Hibs, Aberdeen, but you're also making it easier for the Old Firm to just win games. And if we see an 18-team league, we would, honestly, man, we would see more Celtic 6-0 wins, 7-0 wins, 8-0 wins. We'd see Celtic doing that pretty regularly, in my opinion. So I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced that a big league automatically means competitiveness. I just don't think so. But we'll move on. Michael O'Hara. As a Celtic fan, I'd rather get pumped 7-1 by Champions League finalists than get pumped 4-1 at home by a team sitting 12th in the McDonald's League. Last time I checked, Dortmund aren't sitting pretty in the Bundesliga either. But, you know, it is what it is. John says, Rangers looked dangerous despite their ineptness. Celtic were an embarrassment. Brendan had better have rewatched the Stuttgart/Sparta Prague game and replicate it in Bergamo, or he can fuck off back to Leicester. Rangers can have the fucking league title this season. So that seems like a Celtic fan there who's not happy with what Brendan Rodgers was doing. And I just agree, man. I think Rangers did look more dangerous. It was a bad result for Rangers, but Rangers, I don't think, were embarrassing. I don't think it was an embarrassing performance. I thought Rangers' performance was, I don't want to say half decent because a lot of the players did kind of let them down, but Rangers at times looked like they could cause Lyon problems, and they did. Especially in the first half, Rangers could have had more than one goal. And they were a bit unfortunate when you look at the fact that If Tierney doesn't miss that sitter, LYON don't score the opener. If Barron doesn't play Chirky through, LYON don't get their second. So, I mean, Rangers were unlucky to be 3-1 down at the break, whereas Celtic were just abysmal against Dortmund, and I'm not going to change my mind on that. Anyway, guys, that's it. I agree. Both results are terrible, but I think the Celtic one is worse. 7-1, you're just going to remember. 4-1 is a bad result, but that will be forgotten about. 7-1 is one of those results that we'll be talking about in 10 years' time. Just like people currently talk about the Celtic 6-0 against Atletico Madrid, or they talk about the Celtic thumpings that they've had off Barca and PSG. Rangers, what gets talked about with Rangers? The 7-1 against Liverpool always gets brought up. These 4-1s get forgotten about after a while. 7-1s are here to stay, so it is what it is. Anyway, guys, that's it. Catch you in the next one. Until then, peace.